But then again, if you want a crowd, you got lots of room.
Indeed.
Here,
Yeah.
one time this summer, you had a crowd from Halifax, all musicians. There was 6 of them, and they all come up and stayed 2 or 3 days. So I mean, we had lots of room, and
most of the people that come here are music people. You know, they come. We play music all weekend or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta live.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you pull it over just a little bit more, then you can, yeah.
Just move that coffee table.
No, that's the,
yeah, just push it back a ways out of your way.
No, I think that's going to be just great. Getting fussy now, eh? There, I think that's going to be great.
If you want any lights on, just let me know. We can put lights on.
No, actually, this little camera's wonderful the way it, you happy with that stuff? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay, and I'll put over this around.
And that's rolling, and this
It is?
Yeah,
Not
no.
yet, okay. Well,
So you push play and record or just record?
record. And just this one here. And that's on. Yep. Nothing else. Please go down automatically.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Okay, sure. We're gonna start by asking you just some basic information questions.
Well,
that,
that's the only way you're going to get what you want,
Okay.
is ask me.
Yeah.
Because I haven't a clue in the world what you're after.
Sure. Okay.
And so, ask me anything you want to ask me.
well, what,
And if I know it, I'll tell you.
what we're really after is good stories.
Yeah, right,
for
right.
today's
Well,
start.
I'd like to learn something I don't know about.
What happened?
Yeah. A lot of them I ain't going to tell you because you know too much now.
But we have to start with just some vital statistics type of thing. We can get that out of the way, and then
Yeah,
we'll ask some questions that'll just get you talking, and I'll just shut up.
yeah.
So, to start with, can you give me your full name?
Stewart Carty.
How do you spell your middle
S-
name?
ERWOOD.
ERWOOD?
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be right, would it?
Well, yes.
Irwood?
Yes. That's the way it always was spelled.
And
I don't-
Stewart is S-T-E-W.
Right,
ART.
correct. Some puts it S-T-U-A-R-T, but it's not right. It's S-T-E-W-A-R-T, but most of them all goes by S-T-E-W-A-R-T.
Yep. And who were your parents, Stewart?
Thomas Dinstead Carty.
What's that middle name?
Dinstead.
Dinstead. How do you spell that one?
Well, you're smarter than I am, so you'll have to. I just don't know just.
I can look that up.
And it was.
somewhere.
I think it was D-I-N-S-T-E-D. I believe. I'm quite sure that's the way it went.
I'm hearing some names I never heard of before.
Yeah, right.
And so who was your mother?
Edna May Carty
What was her maiden name?
Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Right.
Do you remember anything about the grandparents?
No, they was all dead when I was born.
All of them. And
All I know is what my father had told about his father and mother. That's about all, you know. As far as knowing them, they was gone before I come around.
never lucky
No,
enough to know
right,
them.
no.
And what year were you born?
1914.
And where were you born?
I was born right here, Mink Cove.
In Mink Cove?
Yeah.
Where was the family homestead at the time?
We lived about 3/4 of a mile from the new consolidated school. There was a road right back in there, and my father had a big farm back in there.
It's a road that's no longer
No, it's
road?
all growed up now with everything, bushes and all. I didn't like it in there when I was a kid. I wanted to get out where I could see more going on, and I didn't like it. And after I got married, well, then I built another house in there, and I lived there for about 3 years and a half. And I said to my father one day, we worked back and forth on the farm. I said, I'm going to move out of here. What for? Well, I said, I just don't like it in here. I want to do a lot of dickering. And that's what I've done pretty well all my life. And I said, I'm too far off the road. In the spring it gets muddy and you can't travel it. And I said, in the wintertime you get blocked in with snow. No. I said, I'm not going to live here. So I bought another farm, and I bought it next to the consolidated school. And I just lived there a year, and I was doing fine. And I'd go back to help my father, and then he'd come out and help me. We weren't good together. And one day he came out and helped me, and he said that he couldn't, we was pulling turnips, and he said his hand got so cold he couldn't hold on to turnips. So we went to the house, and my sister was there with my wife, and found out he had a stroke. So he wanted to walk home, and I said no. So my brother was just going over in my woods to cut some lobster brose. So I hollered to him, and he come back, and he took him home. Well, I had to go every night and morning, and it was a lot of work to it. Along with me on, and I was working for another guy down here 10 miles. Well, I was up half the night, and none of the rest would come look after him. So then it got to the point that it was me for everything. So then I had to move everything I had back there, move back in my own house that I had built. And he only lived from October to January, and he was gone. But if I had known that, probably I would have tried to done something else. Well, and in the meantime, I sold the house the farm I was living on. So I had nothing to move back on.
The one next to the school?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I sold it again.
What side was that? What side of the school? The side where Rodney...
The same side the school's on.
Yeah.
It's the second house from the school on the side hill. So I sold it.
Who owns it now?
Duncan Gidney.
Okay.
Yeah. I sold it back to him. And then after about a few years after that, I still had it in my head that I wanted to move out of there. So my house is down here next to that fish hatchery. Long white house, 40 feet long. I bought that, but it was all adrift. And I built that over 3 times. But it was better I was on the main road, because I done a lot of dickering. I kept a lot of cattle, and I kept them back there and some out here. And I moved so many every day. I was gone somewhere every day. And that's the way it carried on. So, and then I attended all the exhibitions, kept a lot of fancy oxen, mated them well, and trained their horns so that they had nice shaped horns just alike. And I done that right up until, well, after my wife had the stroke, well, then I was anchored. I had to quit. And a lot of them wanted me to put her in a home, even some of the children. I said, no, I ain't going to do that. So she was in the hospital 5 months, and they called me up one day and wanted me to come get her. I said, all right, I'll be up after dinner. So I went up and got her, and the nurse just said to me, if you've got somebody home to look after her that knows how to look after a sick person like that, she couldn't lift her head off the pillow. I don't know why they wanted her out of the hospital so quick. But they had said right along she wasn't going to live. Well, I didn't believe that. So I went up, we carried her out and put her in the car, and I brought her home. I never had nobody. I never had one soul, not even one of my kids, come in to say, I'll wash dishes, or I'll make a cake, or I'll make something, or do something. Nobody ever come in here. And I looked after her 14 years and a half. And when she passed away, the nurses said to me, 2 nurses said to me, well, you've looked after her all this time. Tell us how you ever done it. I said, very easy. I said, I asked the Lord to give me power enough to look after her. I never kept house in my life. She done that. Because when we got married, I said the night before, we had quite a talk. Now I said, this is the way we're going to live. No arguments or anything like that. We're going to agree. And the first time that we can agree, it's all over. Because I never was brought up to live that way. And I'm not going to live it now. So anyway, I said, you look after the house, keep it clean and all, but don't come out and interfere with my work. I said, when I get ready to unload something, you might not want me to unload it, but just don't say nothing, because it's definitely going to go. I'm out to make money, and I'm not going to hold nothing around because the money's there. That's the way we lived all of our life. We had a wonderful life. And I looked after her right till she passed away because she would have done it for me. But I did tell her different times the way I looked at it. We'd have been probably better off and enjoyed it better if it had been me had the stroke and she'd have been in my place. But she didn't see that, but I could, because I felt that a woman in her own house, the way I feel about it, that can be more contented even if she's got trouble than a man can. Because when she took the stroke, she spoiled all the enjoyment that we had outdoors. Because wherever we went to an exhibition, from Halifax right straight around the South Shore and all through the valley, she went too. We had a trailer and we had everything hooked up, so we had comfort in everything. But when she had the stroke, I tried to take her a couple of times and it was too hard to work. You know, you in a trailer, you can't turn around, you can't do nothing like that. It's just push ahead or back up. Oh, it got too hard. I just said, I can't do that. I just won't give the trailer away to get out of the door, because every time I looked at it, I thought I'd like to go, and I knew then I couldn't go. And I had 2 trucks, a small one and a big one, and 2 pair of oxen. I got clear of everything and stayed right in the house 14 years and a half. The times it was hard, I used to lay her down on the bed and cover her up and go to Digby once a week, buy groceries. And I wouldn't be gone over an hour and a half, and come back. Then she'd be up and around, because I never let her. I had her so she'd go all around the house in a wheelchair. After I had her home 6 months, I had her going around in a wheelchair. Oh, yeah. And it's like I tell a lot of people, I'm proud of it today. You know, the time would have went by anyway, and I looked after her, and she enjoyed it home. So that's the way it went.
Don't see that very often anymore.
No. But it seemed when she went, it was like when my cattle went out of the barn and all my extras, that I had more interest in that. I don't think I went in that barn over 2 or 3 times after that, because there was nothing there. It was gone. And it was the same way after she passed away. I stayed there from August till December. And, of course, Emerson wanted me to come up here with him. It wasn't very good staying there. And so then I thought it all over, and I said, well, I got nothing to lose. What's good of me staying down here? Because I've seen me go to bed 6:30 at night. Nothing to sit up for. And after I went to bed, I would go to sleep. And I've seen me wake up the next morning, never been to sleep all night. But he wanted me to come up here, so then it kind of changed the picture a little bit, you know.
What year did your wife die?
It's 15 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I would wish her back, because she suffered so much. And once you go through death, it's surely you don't want to come back and go through it again, you know. Right? So that's what makes life up, I guess.
This farm that was your parents', is there anything left of it? Could you
No.
walk back there and see a foundation or anything?
Oh, well, I suppose I would be. Emerson them goes back on the 4-wheeler, and it's pretty well growed up now. And I kept it going for quite a few years, and then I got to the point where I didn't need it. And the real estate dealer come. I know one morning if I'd sell it, and I said, sure. So I had asked all the kids if they wanted it. No, they didn't want it. No how. Well, I didn't blame them. And so then I sold it. And probably 4 or 5 years after, Betsy Emerson, a lot of them wished they had it. I said, too late now. I asked you. But it was a beautiful spot once you got in there. A lovely grove of hardwoods all on the back of the mountain, you know, and the house was right up to it and everything. And oh, yeah, it was a good house and a nice barn, nice big barn, 47 feet by 40 by 47. Oh, it was a nice big barn. And I had remodeled it a lot after my father died and cemented all the floors in. But after I got it all done, it didn't interest me. Yeah. I could do with something not near so good to be on the main road.
So your father was a farmer primarily?
Oh, he done that all of his life.
Never a fisherman?
No, right, no. I was telling Emerson here the other day, what a change in life. He always kept a nice sharp axe, and he chopped every bit of his wood. And if he come in this area and was going to cut here, why, if he cut this tree down, trimmed it all out, he carried it to a place where he could get it easy, and he made a pile there, carried every stick to that pile, till he figured he had enough, what they called a big load for the bobsleds. So he knew every heap he made, he could tell how much wood he had for the year. And he used to cut and pile in the woods somewhere around 15, 16 heaps. And then when the winter set in good and snow, he'd take the oxen and haul that wood outdoor. But that wasn't the easy part of it. When I was only a little feller, I remember what he had to do. He used to take the axe and chop it all in stovewood lengths. They would be a heap of chips, pretty near as big as this room. And then after he got it all chopped up in stovewood lengths, then he had to turn around and split it and make a big heap up to a point so it would dry good. But somewhere by, 10th, 12th of April, he had all of his wood all ready for the year.
Wow.
That was the year's wood. Then he was ready to go farming. Yeah. And I've seen him have the potatoes all in by the last of April.
Wow, that's early.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. But at that time, we had terrible winters. But once it started to break, within a week, you'd never know we ever had hard winters. It would clear out that much, so fast. It seemed to get warm and everything, but now our weather has altogether changed. Yeah, we had warmer weather in May than we had any time this summer gone by. But there's that much change in the weather, But always at them times, when I was a young fellow like that, anywhere from 12 to 20 years old, we had snow in October. I know one year that, it was a beautiful day, and the evening was beautiful, and sometime through the night it started to snowing. And the next morning, we had good 2 feet of snow, and that was around the 15th of October. And from then on, it snowed every day, from that right up until last of March, 1st of April. Snowed every day. Sometimes not a lot, but a little, every day. And cold. Yeah. Right. But now it's changed so that the ground don't even freeze. I've seen us go down over the mountain where we used to log a little bit. There was a big miry swamp, and I seen us take the oxen and the bobsleds down there and mire them right in it, so we had to take them off, unyoke them, lead them out, and run a chain to get the sleds back across. It was that soft. That night would come around cold. We could go down the next morning and drive right over it, just same as if you had cement run there. It was that much change. Now, they never freeze. They don't freeze in the world. Don't matter how cold it gets, they just don't freeze. So it's such a change in our weather today, because they always put up ice all them years and put it in an ice house for fish and stuff, or any fish plants or anything like that, through the summer that they used ice. And you could cut ice from December right up until 1st of April. Now they don't, some of the lakes never freezes. So that shows you how the weather has changed, because then there was no fridges, no nothing, but today, they don't need ice, you see. And stuff, I don't know why it is, but stuff won't even keep. My father always killed a big beef along about this time of year. And he had a big workshop. He used to hang that in that workshop, and it would stay there all winter.
And it was cold enough.
Yeah, never seemed to thaw out.
Yeah.
And he'd kill a pig and keep out the fresh stuff, and salt the pork, the clear shear pork, and all that would stay there all winter long, never spoiled. When my mother wanted some meat, she'd tell him, he'd go take the axe and chop a piece out, That's the way they live, you know, right through. But today, as I tell a lot of people, you can go buy meat and put it in the fridge, and after about 5 days, it's spoiled. Yeah. Even if you're eating the fridge, unless it's froze, you know. But there's something about the air that has changed the way of living, you know.
I can remember raising a pig, and it was a big concern how to hang it. We were doing hams and stuff.
Oh, yes, right.
No place cold enough.
No,
I could
right.
clean out my fridge.
Yeah, right.
And then that was too cold.
Yeah, I know my father used to take the hams, and he had some kind of a stuff he mixed up and rubbed them every morning. I think it was for 9 mornings.
Yeah.
After that, you could hang them anywhere,
Yeah.
and they'd keep, you know. And but you don't do none of that today. Hams today is all used fresh, you know, right? Yeah. Oh, the world has changed something terrible to what it used to be. Yeah. Right.
Remember what kind of stuff he would rub on the ham?
Pardon?
What was that mixture that he rubbed on the ham?
Well, I don't know really what it was. I know there was brown sugar in it and some other stuff he put in it. I suppose some spices or of some sort. And
Saltpeter sometimes in those
they did use a lot of saltpeter then. When they pickled beef, they always dropped a little saltpeter in it. They said it'd give it a good color.
Yep.
Brightened it up, you know. It wouldn't be faded like. And they had different remedies then that they haven't got today. Yeah. My mother in the wintertime always kept Vicks and camphor oil in a dish on the stove. Of course, they used a wood stove. And she'd have that on the back of the stove. Anytime you come in the house, you could smell that. And if any one of the kids had a cold, she done her own doctor.
Can you remember some of the things she did?
Well, she used a lot of Vicks and camphor oil. She'd heat that and bathe you all over your chest if you had a cold. And if it got too bad, she'd make a mustard plaster up. One time, years ago, I was only 4 years old at the time, there was a flu very raging all over. Every pile of people died. And my oldest brother was 21 years old. And he wanted to earn some extra money. He wanted to buy a nice driving wagon he had bought a nice horse, and he wanted to earn money enough to buy a nice driving wagon. But my father had one, but he didn't want to use that. He wanted one of his own, because I think eventually he figured someday he was going to get a place of his own and start out on his own. So there was a job over in St. John. So he went over there and went to work. And he wasn't there no time at all when the flu was so raging. He took sick and got pneumonia and died right there. Yeah. And but my mother always said that if he'd have been home, I would have saved him. Because I remember I was only 4 years old, and it was only my mother and I that never had the flu. And all the rest of the family was in bed for about 3 to 4 weeks, and she doctored everyone, even to my father. And the neighbors used to come and look after the cattle for him. But today, you'd lay there and die, nobody wouldn't come in here today, you know. But that was the difference in them times. Everybody tried to work with one another, you know. And a lot of the younger crowd thinks today that we got a lot better way of living, but I can't see it. Because I watched how that different ones would go visit somebody on a special day, and then a special day there'd be so many come visit the rest. And, you know, people seem to be more friendlier. Today, a lot of people don't even want to talk to you unless there's some money involved. So the world has changed so much that it just scares you, right? Yeah. But she brought them all around. She worked awful hard, but she brought them all around. Well, she had the house fumigated all the time, you know, which I believe helped a lot of it, you know. But if you got an awful cold on your chest and all, if it gets bad enough, you put a mustard plaster on it, and it'll break it up, you know. But they don't believe in that today, you know. It's like years ago, you broke your ribs, they strapped you all up. Today, they won't strap you, you know. And things are so much different, you know, that I can see. Yeah.
Was your mother typical? Do you remember her being like everybody else's mother at their time, or was she known for her ability to nurse people?
Oh no, I think the majority of people was that way. You know, it was one way of life that someone done. And once in a while you'd see, I know there was a couple of women in this neighborhood here that was about as good nurses as you want to find. And if there was anybody real sick, they was there. And they would come today and come tomorrow till they got better, you know. And I know I had a second cousin, just a young boy. And he was sick for a long while. And they done everything to him, couldn't help him. And my wife's grandmother, she was, you might say, a good doctor. And she started tending him, rigging up different kind of stuff to give him. He got right better and he lived for years. You know, she was just that kind. And then there was another woman up the road. If there was some woman going to have a baby, she was right there, whether the doctor got there or not. She was there.
Was she known as a midwife?
Yeah, right, yeah.
What was her name? Do you remember?
Annie Hersey.
Annie Hersey.
Yeah, right, yeah. And the other woman that doctored around a lot, she was really good. That was Margaret's grandmother. That was Helen Hersey. Yeah, right. Yeah. But most of them today don't know nothing. They don't know nothing at all. My.
It sounds like you had a big spread in your family. How many children did your parents have?
There was 8 of us.
Yeah?
There was 8. Yeah.
And
They're all dead but my brother and I got one brother left. He just passed his 90th birthday the 27th of October. He's smart and round, drives his car to Digby and everything. Yeah.
That's Albert.
Yeah.
That's your brother.
Yeah,
Heard his
right.
birthday on the radio.
Yeah, right.
That's your brother. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
right, yeah. Him and I's the last 2.
And you were the 2 youngest
Yeah.
of the family?
Yeah, I was the baby. Yeah, right. My mother had me when I was 48. When she was
Yeah.
Yeah, not me 48. When she was 48, when she had
to
me.
have a 21-year-old brother when you were only 4, that's
Yeah, right.
a big.
Yeah, he was the oldest.
He was the oldest.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that must have been a big blow to your mother to lose her firstborn
Oh yeah.
son
Right.
at 21.
Yeah, and they couldn't go to the funeral.
Yeah.
They couldn't go to nothing. He was shipped across from St. John to Digby, and there was another man that my father knew well. He was a druggist, and he interceded for everything. So that took quite a care of him. Because by the time he died, my father was in bed with the flu.
They couldn't go to the funeral because
Oh,
everybody
no.
else had the flu.
That's right, yeah, they was all sick in bed, you know. Oh, it was raging at that time, but all I knew enough was play around the house at 4 years old, you know. Right. But might have been an awful lot of changes in that time. Yeah. But they all lived, the whole family lived to a good age. My oldest sister lived till she was 99. And her other sister died at 97.
Wow.
And there was 2 boys that died the youngest. They was 81 and 82. But then Elsa's and I's got them all beat, as far as the boys concerned.
Did they all stay around here when they became adults?
No. No, I had one sister that lived in the States. She lived in Lexington, Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And I had another sister that lived down in Yarmouth, in Carlton.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the boys that died lived here in Sandy Cove. And the other one had lived here pretty well all of his life. And after he got in his 50s, he ran afoul of a woman, and she had a little money and from Philadelphia. And he married her, and then they moved down below Virginia, I think it was. They moved down there, and he died down there. And then she come back here, and she was only here a little while when she passed away.
What was it that drew so so many people from this area to go to Massachusetts at one time?
I don't
Your
know.
sisters?
They must have been more work or something. And then if any women went there, why, they got married there, you see, and that's the way it went off, you know. But years ago, it didn't seem to have any job for to get into the United States to go to work, you know. I've seen men here years ago go to the States and only be there a little while and call his wife over there, and they never come back.
Yeah.
And sold their home, and it was their home over there. Yeah, a pile of people went. But you don't see it today. Of course, they're stricter today. And,
The immigration.
oh, yeah, right, yeah. We couldn't do it. But then, I know one time there was a man left here and went over there, and they asked him at the immigration what he was going to do over there. He said he was a fish buyer, and he was no fish buyer at all. But he went over there and went to work. And after he was over there a while, he called his wife, and she went over. And they died over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, lived the rest of their life over there. Oh, family after family and moved off the neck here, and I suppose other places too, and moved to the States and made their home there. Yeah.
So you were the absolute baby of the family. You
Yeah.
were the very youngest.
That's
So
right.
Your parents were older parents.
Oh, yeah.
to you.
Oh, yeah. By the time I come along, they was getting up. Yeah, right. Yeah, my father he was 70 in June and died in 3rd of January. He was 70 in June. Yeah.
And when did your mother die?
She died when, probably 5 years later. She was about 82 when she died.
So when you were a baby, she just didn't have all 8 children living at home by that point. 12 or 13.
No, some was getting out, you see, by the time my oldest sister never left home.
No,
She never got married.
no.
And she always stayed home. Yeah, right. Yeah. And when I moved, she moved. And then after a while she went over to the States to her sisters and worked a little while over there, and she come back in the summer and she come home and she said to me, she said, I'd like to have a little place of my own. Said, I got a little money. I said, yeah. So she wanted to know if I would intercede for her. So I did. I bought her a building spot, and then started to build her a house. So I built her a house, put everything in it, and she lived there for quite a few years. And then she turned around and gave it over to one of my sons, and he was supposed to look after her. But after he's like all the rest, once they get it in their hands, it's different. So then he put her in Tideview, which she never liked it. But I said, well, it's what you done. You put yourself here yourself. So she died there.
Yeah.
But she never liked it there. Never. Yeah.
Where did you build the little house? Was that in Mink Cove?
Yeah. Maybe you noticed coming down, there's a trailer coming down the hill to the foot of the hill on that side, a trailer, house trailer.
Yeah.
Well, just across the road from that was the house I built.
Okay.
It's Emerson's son's got it now. He had bought it from one of my sons.
Yeah.
And he's built a big piece on it now.
Yeah.
But it was only 18 by 22
Yeah.
is what it was. And then after he bought it, why, he's built a big piece on it and everything. Emerson's second boy, Ian. Yeah.
So, can you give me a picture of your father's year as a farmer, how the year went around? He got all the wood done by April.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious to know why he used an axe for everything. Were there never any saws?
There wasn't none
No
then.
saws.
No saws.
Just a sharp axe.
But a few years after I was big enough to know how we got the wood, a very few years after that, there was a saw come out that they called a buck saw.
Yeah.
He bought one of them. Then he made a sawhorse and put the wood on it and sawed it all up by hand with that buck saw.
That's the one person saw.
Yeah,
The
right.
buck saw.
Oh, yeah, it was a big high one, about that high, and it had a wooden frame through the middle, and a wooden frame on each end, and the blade hooked into the bottom on it. You went back and forth with her like that. And, well, then probably in about 3 to 4 years after that, somebody got a saw machine.
Yep.
And then we got the saw machine, come saw her all up. Took about 8-9 hours to saw up his year's wood,
That's
all
not
ready
bad.
for blocks. And then he'd go right to work splitting. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that was a change in it. My, yes.
Did you ever hear of a Blenkhorn axe? Were Blenkhorn
That's what he
axes around
used.
here? Yeah.
That's exactly what he used.
Yeah, I've heard they're
Uh,
the best.
But he didn't want a double bitter.
No,
He wanted a single axe.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, I knew what that was like, and he kept a good one. And he always had it sharp. And out front, in front of the house, there was a big wooden platform. And every day when he come home at dinner time, he stuck the corner of the axe in the platform,
yeah,
and the handle would stand up.
yeah.
So at that time, they had a big collie dog, and big fluffy hair and all. So I went outdoor on the platform, and the axe was sticking in the platform, and the dog was sitting on the platform with his tail out like that. And whatever possessed me, I never know. I've thought of it many times. I picked the axe up, went like that, and cut his tail off. But I'm telling you, when I seen the blood, I wasn't long sticking the axe back. And I went right in the house, and they had a bedroom downstairs way in the back end of the house. I crawled right underneath of that.
Did you get in trouble?
No, oh, well, he scolded me quite a lot, but I mean, it didn't get as bad as I thought it was. I felt worse after I done it, but I never thought nothing of it. Just same as if it was something that I had to do, and
It was there.
oh, yeah, and it was just a curiosity. I picked it up and just wanted to see how sharp it was, I guess, and I just cut his tail off. When the blood started to come, I tell you, I wasn't long gone. Oh, yeah.
Did the dog heal nicely?
Oh, yeah, healed right out. Of course, I only cut about that much off him, you know. But did it bleed? Oh, I've thought of that a good many times.
So besides getting the wood, you just did your father just did your family's wood? Did he do wood for any other families?
No,
Just took care of your own family's wood?
yeah, right.
And that was done by April, then it was time to plant.
Oh, yeah. He raised a lot of vegetables and stuff. He would have, probably 100 bushel of carrots, and always raised 1,000 bushel of turnips. And they was all white, all yellow turnips. And he didn't plant them too early, not the turnips, because they'd get tough. And he would sell so many of the carrots in the fall, and he'd put a few in the basement of the house. And then the rest that was overrun, he always figured on about 50 bushel of carrots, that he'd just clear the dirt away just a little bit, and drop them carrots all right in one heap, and bring them up kind of to a peak all the way around.
Outside.
Yeah.
This is outside in the garden.
And then he would turn around and cut quite a lot of fir brush and lay all over them carrots. And after he got them all covered good, but the top part, he'd leave out about 6-8 inches open. And then he'd take the shovel and put about 6 inches of dirt all over that brush till he got right to the top. And they would stay there all winter till everything thawed up in the spring. And when he took everything away, the top ones would have sprouts on them, 2 inches long. Well, that's when they would sell good.
Yep.
Everybody wanted carrots, them fresh after they stayed all winter. You could take one of them big carrots, about that long, and throw it up against something, and it would split in a dozen pieces because they were so firm and brittle like. Oh, they was beautiful then. And he always made heaps of yellow turnips and put about 100 bushel, 50 in each one, all winter long. And they would sell great in the spring. That's where he picked up any cash, you see.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And he always raised, 100 barrels of potatoes. sold them all the time, right from digging time right up until spring. You know, he always got clear of every one. Yeah.
Where did he store the potatoes? Same way?
Oh yeah, no, he always kept the potatoes under cover.
Under cover,
Yeah, right. He never planted, preserved any outgoing.
No.
No.
Were these heaps of carrots and turnips, most of the heap was above ground?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, sitting right on top of the ground. He'd just move hardly any dirt or anything, just
Yeah.
enough to get the new dirt and drop them right in that dirt. And then what he put the fir brush for, because there was more brush on the limbs that he put on, and the dirt wouldn't go through them. He didn't want the dirt to go through the brush into the vegetable,
Yep.
you see. So he made sure he used a lot of small fir brush, which made a covering over top of them, you see, so the dirt wouldn't sift through. And about 6 inches of dirt, and it would never freeze right through to the carrots. They never was one froze. And you could feel it steaming up out of that hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
This little hole on the top.
Yeah,
of the
right. Yeah,
Freeze.
roughly about 6 inches hole in the top.
Yeah.
And they would feed through that. Yeah, and they kept wonderful. I don't know whether they would today or not. The way the air is and everything today, probably they'd all rot, you know, right? But that was the way things was at that time, you know. And I think it was really planned for the weather to be that way, because at that time they had no fridges, they had no nothing, and the weather was suitable for that kind of living. But today, why, it's like getting ice. You couldn't freeze the water today to get ice, you know, but then it was no problem at all. My gracious. Get it out of the lake, you could always get it anywhere from 12 to 16 inches deep, you know.
Where did they cut the ice around here? Off of what lake? We've heard about it in Lake Midway.
Well, years ago, before my time, my father said, there's a couple of lakes here over the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a fishing village right back here on Bay Fundy Shore. And they used to cut ice up on that mountain back where them lakes was. And then they had a ice house that they put it in and done the same thing with sawdust and all, you know. And that was their ice for all summer long for their fishermen there. And there was a pile of fishermen. I know one time that there was a man fishing back there, and he lived right up here, and he went out. They had a weir in Sandy Cove to catch herring, you know, and he went out and got a salt bag full. He was a very strong man, they said, and he put it on his back, and from the time he left Sandy Cove till he got back to my father's place, he never took it off his back, and he stopped over there and dropped it off and come in the house and had some breakfast. And then when he got through, he put it back on his back and took it back here to where they was fishing.
Where's this fishing community? It's one that doesn't exist anymore?
No, it's
But
all.
behind Mink Cove on the Bay of Fundy?
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's all done away with now. No, they had fish houses, and in the summer, they was different men took their wives and their children, went back there and stayed 2 or 3 months in the summer, you know. But
Similar to the camps that I've heard about on St. Mary's Bay.
yeah, pretty well. But this was all on Bay Fundy.
Would they kind of cut through your farms?
No, they was a government road
Yes?
that connects just up the road here. That went right straight through one piece of property, right straight through the shore. The government had it then, and they kept it in repair so they could travel it with oxen wagons, you know, because that's how they hauled all their fish out and everything from there, and hauled their salt back there and everything. It was all done with oxen, yeah. And some would haul them fish clear to Digby, you know, at one time. And but as time went on, they kept dropping out of their fishing, and it got so that they quit altogether. Some got too old to fish, and the younger crowd wouldn't do nothing like that. They get it more even, easier to do, you know.
And maybe they wouldn't do that because they could fish out of Sandy Cove?
Oh no, right now.
So was there a little cove back there, or did it have a name?
Well, no, not really. It's just a place where the cliffs wasn't high and they was low,
Yeah.
and it's like all on Bay Fundy Shore. You can go from Sandy Cove right through to East Ferry, and there's places there that there's no cliffs there, and there's flat land that you can walk right out in the water, you know, and then you go along again, you got cliffs for half a mile.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way the shore lines up, but this was just a place where it was just like a cove made in, and there was no big cliffs or flat, and they laid poles down, made waves, dragged their boat up and down
Had to
on.
haul their boat in and out every
Oh yeah, right, yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
When's the last time anybody ever fished that way on the Bay of Fundy?
Oh gee. Be pretty near before my time.
Yeah.
I'd say it's been 60, 70 odd years ago, maybe 80
Yeah.
years ago. I remember some of them being back there fishing, but not very much. I would say it'd be roughly 75 years ago, probably, since anyone fished back there. One time that they used to have to keep somebody had out of the lot had to keep a pair of oxen back there while they was fishing. So when they come in, that they'd have the fish all in the boat. They'd hook the oxen on the boat and haul her up to high water. And then they had things made that they could, big tub with handles, had it rigged on a handle. They'd take two men, one man on one end, one on the other, and they'd fill that tub full of fish and carry it up into their building to dress it. And but then the later years, the government put an engine back there for them.
Yep.
And then after they all quit fishing there, well, the government took it out of there and moved it somewhere else. And that cleaned everything out of there, buildings and all. And all in the drift. Yeah.
Would it be a fisherman that owned those oxen, or would they
Oh, yeah.
call on somebody
Oh
else?
yeah, no. Mostly they all had something at them times, you know. Everybody had a pig, everybody had a cow, and when they all burnt wood, so they would, if it wasn't some of their relation, they would chop wood on somebody else, and to get the wood, they'd chop wood for him to pay for it, and it was the same way hauling the wood. You'd haul wood for somebody, and then he'd come chop your wood. You know, they had no money, so it all had to be a return thing.
So you say you and your father worked well together. So you grew up on the farm.
Oh yeah, I was with him from the time I was born till he passed away. Yeah. Yeah. It seemed, I often said, why me? But it always seemed to be me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So your father, he planted all these things, and you told us about how he made some of a living.
Well, he made all of his living right on that farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
What was more important to making a living, animals or the vegetables?
Well, I would say with him probably it was half and half.
Mm-hmm.
But he kept a lot of cattle.
Yeah.
Oh, probably 30 or 35 head all the time, you know. But I would say that he made half and half. I would say about the same thing. But then when I got bigger, so I could take her over, well, then I stepped the cattle racket up quite a lot higher. And
Drop the vegetables down.
yeah, well, after I got doing it, I quit altogether. I never done anything because I didn't like that kind of work. And but after I got big enough, even when he was living, well, when I was about 16, why, I started right in dickering in cattle, and he was always willing, but I always showed him what the profit was and give it back to him. Mm-hmm. I started out on his, not mine, because I didn't have none.
Yeah.
But I would take one of his creatures or even these oxen and sell them and go buy another pair. And if I saved $50 or whatever, he got the $50.
Yeah.
I never took one penny from my father in my life. Not one penny. There, he never gave me one.
So he didn't do any cattle trading?
No, very little.
That was
Unless
your idea.
someone, before I took over, unless someone come to the house and bought something.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they stayed there till
Yeah.
someone come. He never done no dickering. But there was always some. But then as a few years come on, why, it got to be a real good business. Oh my, it got to be a good business. My, yes. Yeah.
So your father lived to see that develop?
No.
No.
No,
that
right.
was
No, I wrote quite a few pair of steers of his. Broke them good so you could work with them alone or anything. And someone would know about it and they'd come buy them from me. And then I'd start in with another pair for him. But I'd done that until I got married. And when I got married, I said, this is it. I got to work for myself now. So then I had a few cattle by that time of my own. And I had been married a little over a year. And I had a truck. And the war come on, and vehicles got to be out of all reason. And I said to my wife one night, I said, vehicles is getting high. I said, I'm goodwill to sell my truck. Oh, she said, what will we do? I said, I'll do just the same as I did before I had one. I will walk. They're going to drop down in price someday, and I'll be ready when they drop down. So it was only a day or two when the guard from Digby called me. Said, I heard you was going to sell your truck. I said, yeah. He said, I'll be right down. So he came right down. I had paid $500 for it and had it a year and 10 months. The tires was wore right through to the canvas. And the motor was pretty near all wore out. But to look at the truck, it was wore. She'd just come out of the factory. I trucked all the time with her, hauling cattle and everything I could haul to make $1. But I took care of it, and I never had a mark on it. So he comes and said, what do you want for it? I said, I want, I think it was $475. I had only paid $5 a year and 10 months before that. He said, I'll give you $450 for it. And take her right now. I said, give me your money. So
You didn't bicker.
no, I let her go because I knew I was doing well. So he took her and went. He said, want me to take you home? Oh, no, I said. I got to walk anyway, so I might as well walk anyway now. So my wife was living with her father and mother. I hadn't got the house all built. So I went down and I told her. Oh, she felt quite bad. I said, well, I can't help it. I said, I got to make some money. And the only way I can see, I said, I can't buy tires for it because they're rationed now.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't afford to put a motor in it. So I said, what was the good of it? So in the morning or two after that, I used to go out and stay with her nights and go back to my father's daytime and work. So one morning I got up and going home and I stopped in a neighbor's house and he was left alone. And he had some cattle he wanted to sell to get them right out of there quick. And I was right in the battle. I had the money. And I bought them right there.
This is the money from selling the truck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one was a nice big Durham cow, right ready to drop her calf. I led her home, put her in the barn. I said, you keep all the young cattle for about another week till I get squared away. He said, okay. So I paid him for the whole work. I had money left out of my truck. And I had 6 head of cattle. And I still had money left out of my truck.
You're rich.
Well, then I was getting up, so I had about 12 head of cattle of my own. So then I started then dickering more. And the more I dickered, the more money I was picking up. I walked. Gee, I walked one time from St. Bernard's,
Yeah.
clear home in one day.
Yes.
And then another time, to make any money, there was a man lived over on the other side of Sandy Cove. He wanted me to go with him, and I went with him, and he bought a pair of Oxen in Clemensville, and I walked them home.
You walked the Oxen home.
Yep, from
Yeah.
Clemensville, for $2. I tell some that they've said, well, you was crazy for $2. I said $2 then was worth as good as 100 today. Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh yeah, but it was great sport. Oh, then about probably 3 to 5 years after that, I'd made money enough that I could do a little more. So there was a truck that a guy had in Digby. He wanted to sell it. $800. So I bought that. I kept that a year and a half, and I started in trading vehicles. I can't tell you how many hundred vehicles I've had. I've had a pile of new cars. After I moved out of there and sold that place and got out here, well, we had a new car or new truck every 2 years, brand new, every 2 years. And my wife could go wherever she wanted to go in the car, or if she wanted to take the half ton, she could take that. And then I had a ton besides, haul me oxen with. You know, we got along great, had a wonderful time, you know. I stopped all that walking and everything. I've seen me, I'd do all my chores up 11 o'clock, and we'd get some dinner. We was all ready to start. She'd take what kids we had and put in the truck with me, and away we'd go. I always kind of planned to be home by 6 o'clock at night to do my work. And I've seen me go buy 2 pair, bring 1 pair home, and the next day or two, sell that pair and go back and get the other one, sell them before I got home. It was great work. My, to turn them over so quick, you know. Oh, yeah. And what made it more saleable, I could make my own yokes for them and shoe my own cattle. And that made it, that kind of, you could take a pair of steers that had never been handled any. And the first thing I done was put them right in the slings and put a set of shoes on them.
Yeah.
It anchored them and kind of taught them more that they could be anchored, you know.
Yeah.
And then after that, why, it was no trouble for me to break them. I could break a pair of steers quite quick. One guy told me here just a little while ago, he said, there was one thing about you. He said, I could get a pair and spoil them, and you could come by them, take them to exhibition, come right in top. I said, yeah, it's all the way you do it, that's all. But a lot of people can spoil them awful quick. I've sold something that worked just perfect, and they'd buy them, pay a big price. Within a week's time, they had them spoiled. Overload them, start using them rough. They got to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just can't stay there and take it.
When you say a broken pair of steer, that's not exactly the same thing as a pair of oxen.
Well, yes,
Practically
practically the same thing.
Practically the same
Only
thing.
they're younger and just starting out in life.
Okay.
Both like a married couple just starting
Yep.
out, or an elderly couple, same example.
But they would become oxen.
Oh,
Eventually,
definitely, yeah.
definitely.
Oh, yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah, they always figured that up to 3 years old, they were steers.
Okay.
When they get 4-year-old, they're oxen. They've got a full set of teeth in their mouth at 4 years old. But up until that, they just, like a yearling, he's got all calf teeth. And when he gets 2 years old, he's got 2 big teeth like that right here in front. And 3 years old, he loses one on each side and brings another big one in. And when he's 4-year-old, he's got a full set right across all big teeth. That's the only difference there is in it, you know.
So there'd be no mistaking the age of
Oh, no,
animals.
not a
You-
bit,
you could
no.
You could tell how old
Right,
they were.
yeah, right. I went to an exhibition one time, and I had a lovely pair of 2-year-old steers. And there was another pair, and they lined us up to judge us, you know. And they was going to give it to a certain guy. And I said, you're giving it to a steer that's 4 years old. And this is supposed to be a 2-year-old class. One man spoke up and he said, well, I know they're 2-year-old. He said, they pastured my pasture one summer. Huh. I said, I can tell you better than that. I said, 2 years ago, I broke them steers. And I told him who I sold them to. And I said, if you're doubted, open his mouth. And he's got a full set of teeth. I said, if you're any kind of oxman and you know anything, I said, just open his mouth. And I'm not scared you open my steer's mouth, because he's only got 2 teeth. So then they canceled it. Give it back to me.
Yeah.
Oh, crooked work, you know.
Yes.
But when it come to the cattle line, they couldn't fool me very much. Right.
Oh, okay.
You need a little break there at all, Stewart?
Hmm?
You need a little break.
We're going to flip the tape.
Oh, it don't matter to me.
Oh.
Need water or anything?
No.
Really good interview.
Chris. Yeah, you're a dream interview.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this light on, just a little more light here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's one over on the other side.
this is good, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is good.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there you go.
You're not moving around too much, then I zoom in a little bit.
Mm.
Now it'll be all over the place.
Yeah.
There we go.
So at what point did Oxen become a necessity
Oh,
for
yeah.
getting things done?
Oh, yeah.
And then, but
Well-
then at a certain point they,
Well, see, before tractors come out,
right,
that's all there was.
yeah,
Some horses, but more oxen than anything else. And you see, years ago, before my father's day, in my grandfather's day, they still used oxen. But they was all rigged by what they called a bow yoke. A yoke, they use them in the United States now. And a bow coming up here. And that's what they used. Well, then when my father got big enough to take over, there was a few around that made head yokes to fit their head and their horns and all. And then she kept going bigger all the time till everybody used all head yokes. And United States has always used deck yokes. But these last 20 years, there's a lot of them for exhibitions. Has come here and bought oxen that's in the head yoke. It's about 8 or 10 years ago, I sold a nice pair over to New Hampshire, all geared up good and all. And I was talking with him about a year ago. He still had them, but he said they was getting too big. They was weighing up to 4,000. And he said they're getting too big, but he said, I awfully hate to part with them. He said, I never had a pair that I thought as much of as them, but I had them broke good. You know, they was mannered good and everything. And I told him when he come that day and looked at him, I said, I told him what I had won with exhibition for them. I was top. and how much I hauled according to their half. He said, I'm not interested in their hauling. He said, they'll never be hauling nothing. He said, I just want them for pets and take them around and show them.
yeah.
And that's all he's ever done with them. Yeah. Oh, they went in a great home. Yeah.
Are the cattle the oxen that you see at exhibitions, are they capable of doing the work that oxen used to have to do?
Oh, yeah.
It's a different thing.
Oh, no, same thing.
They could,
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
In your opinion, were they more versatile than a tractor was that replaced them?
Well, not today.
No.
Because you see, if they'd have had that then, they didn't have the facilities to put a road through the woods. So you'd be anchored all the time, you see. But today, they've got machinery that they can right through your woods, no matter what it's like. Within 2 days, you can drive a touring car. A tractor had been on wheels, and in the snow you'd have been stuck because the snow was so deep. One time, I wanted to buy a pair of steers, and my brother went down the States that died. He said, I'll go with you. And, oh, it was real winter weather. We got up 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was cold. And we walked on the other side of the bay to Plimpton, and we got there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just walking. They was driving mail here all on Digby Neck, all by horses. And the night before we left, they come from Digby with a pair of horses and just got far as Waterford. That's just a little above your place.
Yeah,
The Ori Spaces.
yeah.
They was there a whole week before they ever moved them horses. They couldn't get the road shoveled out. And then they was going through fields and pastures and everything else. And by the time they'd get one place shoveled out, the next place was blocked in worse than ever, because I seen it down here that there'd be a crowd here shoveling up and another crowd shoveled it away. But the next morning, it had more in it than it did the day before. Them was what you call winters.
Yeah.
Yep. And we was 2 days. I bought a pair of steers there, and we had to lead them. We couldn't keep them in the yoke because there's too much snow. And we was 2 days from just over here to Plimpton. Back to my farm was 2 days just getting home. Oh, we was out in the woods. We was everywhere to get clear snowbanks. Yeah, that's what the weather was like then. No wonder it froze. Today they don't have nothing like that.
Did your father have horses also, or just
Just one.
Just one.
Just one.
To do.
Well, if they wanted to go for a sleigh ride,
Yeah.
or like in the summer, use the horse for raking hay or cultivating the vegetables and things like that. They kept one horse. But I had a few pair horses along with the oxen because a lot of times I could do the work faster and I was alone. And sometimes I didn't have them broke good enough that they'd work all what I wanted to do alone from behind them. So after my father died, I bought a pair of horses. And I had a few pair of horses, and they was no more important to me than the cattle was. When someone come along and wanted one, whichever one they wanted, I'd take it out and let it go. Go buy another one. And I liked that. And I used to buy a lot of cars, and different ones seemed to want me to go buy them a good used second-hand car. So I go buy them a car. And I was in with a garage man that sold General Motors. And I always liked General Motors the best. And I seen me go up and bring 5 of his vehicles down and put them in the dooryard. But within a week or two, I'd sell every one of them. So, I mean, it made it good business with me when I wanted a new one.
Yeah.
To cut the price down an awful lot. But I kind of enjoyed that. Anything that I could buy and sell, I love that. Oh, yeah.
What
Nope.
about school? Haven't heard anything about school.
No, because I hated that in the
You
sight.
hated
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But your mother must have made you go to school a while.
Oh, well, yeah, I went till I was in grade 8,
Yeah.
but I hated it. I know one night I hated it so bad that I didn't come home. And I went off in the woods. I didn't intend to go home, but when dark set in and everything, things seemed a little different then. So then I had to come home. But I didn't do that again. I got quite a trimming for it, but it didn't help me any. Because then I thought, and I've thought of it since, for what they said and done and scolded me for it, made me feel worse. And I said, maybe tomorrow night I won't come home.
Yeah.
And I had it in my head as a young boy, go to the shore and jump off so I wouldn't have to go to school.
Oh.
And, it's getting quite bad. So then, it straightened up after a while, but I never liked that. I said, there's a better way to make a living. Now, I've never had no trouble making a living. And, but I didn't like going to school. No.
So, technically, your parents' farm was in Mink Cove or Sandy Cove?
Was I what?
Your parents' farm was actually in Sandy Cove or Mink
Well,
Cove?
it was in between the two.
Yeah.
It was far off. I don't know which way I could explain it, but all their groceries they bought was in Sandy Cove. There was 2 stores there, and their mail all come to Sandy Cove. That was their address, and that pretty well was their main place. And if there was any relatives, they was in Sandy Cove. Mm-hmm. They had very little in Mink Cove, But as far as the place being, you couldn't really say it was Mink Cove or Sandy Cove because it was kind of right in between, right on the borderline is what it was. It would, if it was surveyed out, it would pretty well come right in the middle of it, the borderline between Sandy Cove and Mink Cove.
Was your school in Sandy Cove? The school you went to was the Sandy Cove one?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Did Mink Cove also have a school?
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Oh, yeah. We went to school here in Mink Cove.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We went to school here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even my oldest daughter went to school here. Did you, Emerson? Yeah, Emerson went to school here.
Yeah?
Yeah. They went to school here until they put the buses on.
Yeah. Maybe.
That was what in,
Yeah.
huh? I drove bus for him for 6 months. He was in the pinch. I think that was in 46. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep. So it's about the same time they built the school.
Right, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah. Yeah.
So when you went to school, it was the typical one-room schoolhouse,
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
all grades?
Oh, yeah, yeah, every grade there was there, yeah. And then there was one in Sandy Cove, so it split it up. Whoa, this one here wasn't very big, probably, at that time, probably there was 12, 15 children going to school at that time.
That's not very many.
No, but Sandy Cove had quite a few,
Yeah.
where Sandy Cove's a lot bigger place. And Sandy Cove had a lot more. Sandy Cove school is still
Yep.
up there. There's a family from the States that bought it, I guess, or somewhere, and they live in it in summers. But the one here that was here is where that trailer is.
Yep.
My granddaughter lives there,
Yep.
and that's where the old little schoolhouse used to be. My father was secretary for, I think it was 21 years for that school.
Because they ran those schools by, what did they have? Trustees? Who paid for the school?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
community had to pay for the
Oh, yeah,
school
right,
teacher?
yeah, right, yeah. But the most the school teachers got was $350 a year. That was the biggest price they ever got, was $350. And they had to pay their board out of that. Yeah.
Can you remember anything pleasant about school, or did you hate absolutely everything about it?
Well, pretty well. Yeah. My father had to go around to all the houses, I don't know how many times, to collect the money.
Yeah.
Right. Some would pay a little, say, I can't this week, you come next week, you get back next week. The same old thing, no money.
Yeah.
Would it only be the people with children who have to pay for the teachers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, whether you had children or not.
Oh, okay.
There was a tax, school tax to pay, you know. So every year you had to pay that school tax. That's what kept the school up, you see. Yeah. Yeah, and they was school teachers from far away that would apply through the season to get a school like this here, you know.
Yeah.
They come from everywhere.
Did they stay long?
Well, they'd stay the term.
Yep.
They'd stay the term. And some got married.
Yeah.
You know, after they come here, they got in with somebody. I know my brother married a school teacher that taught here in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to school to her,
Yeah.
and my brother married her. Yeah. And I believe she's still living. She's down with her daughter in Halifax. And, she's way up in her 90s. She's still living yet.
Yeah. So
Oh.
you went until grade 8.
Yeah.
So grade 8 in this school,
Yeah.
and then you had the choice. You had no choice but to go that far.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Oh, my father was anxious for all the kids to go to school. I've seen it storming so bad that he'd yoke the oxen and bundle us all up good to take us to school with the oxen. And then probably by the time school was out, it would moderate, and we'd go home. If it wasn't, he'd be there with the oxen and the sleds to bring us home. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Your mother felt pretty strongly about that also?
Oh,
You
yeah,
should be
right.
there, yeah?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Whatever one done, the other was willing.
Yeah.
That's why I've said all my life, I can't stand arguing or quarreling. No way in the world. If anything gets me and discourages me, is that.
Yeah.
Because my father and mother, I was brought up that way.
Yeah.
I never heard a word between either one of them. And I think you grow with it that way.
What else can you remember about what a typical day would be like for your mother on the farm?
Oh, they went to bed anywhere from my father always went to bed at 7:30.
Yeah.
She'd go about 8 or 8:30 because she had to fix everything all up before she went to bed. And of course they burnt wood. The fire had to be completely out. Not a spark in either stove.
So there was no banking it to try to make it last the night?
Oh,
Maybe
no
there was.
way, no. They were too scared of fire.
Yeah.
So when they went to bed, it had to be as if they never was a fire. And 4 o'clock, my father was up. About 6, my mother'd get up. And he always had a big armload of nice dry killings by the stove and lovely dry wood that was under cover. And of course, a short time after he was up, the house was warm. But all of us kids slept upstairs, and they never was one drop of heat there. Just opened the door long enough to go in or out and shut it right back up again. I've seen probably pretty near a half-inch of frost on the windows.
Yeah.
And she always had chamber pots under every bed. And if you had used it in the first part when you went to bed, when you got up again, it was froze just like a rock. Oh, yeah. And when you went to bed, you would shake for probably a half an hour. But there was one thing about it. She always had lots of bedding.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Once you got in bed, you could feel the half down on you. She had that much on all the bed. But it was just the cold air in that bed to get in. Once you got in there and got warm, then you was all right. But I'm telling you, when we headed upstairs at night to go to bed, it was just like going outdoor. My. Yeah.
Did she make all of the bedding? Make quilts?
Oh,
or-
yes. Oh, my, yes. Oh, yeah. She was always at something, you know. And in the summer, she would get her work done, be ready by 12 o'clock, go strawberrying or raspberrying,
Yeah.
and she'd stay till she got her dishes solid full. But then you could go in the pastures, and they was lovely, nice big strawberries and all, but you don't get none today, not even a field, you know. And she done a lot of canning. Yeah.
So strawberries, I've wondered about that because we didn't have freezers. Nowadays we put our strawberries in the freezers a lot.
Yeah. Well, she done everything up.
Yeah.
Everything. And I used to ask her different questions, and when she was doing strawberries or anything like that, she liked to keep them after they was all done and in the bottle. She loved to have them kept just like as if they was picked,
Yeah.
where a lot of people has them so they're mushy.
Yeah.
And I asked her one time why she kept everything she was preserving on the back of the stove so long. She said, I don't want them to boil. She said, they'll go to mush. She said, if I leave them cooking slow, where they ain't too much heat, she said, they'll stay whole.
Yeah.
And a lot of that thing she done give me great attention when I started to run that fish meal plant down here. Because they didn't know how to run it.
Yeah.
One man had run it 13 years or 14 years over in New Brunswick. And so they moved it here, and they wanted me to operate it. I said, I don't know the first thing about a meal plant. Well, they said, we'll leave a man with you that's run it 14 years, and he'll soon teach you how to run it, and you'll be here when we build it. Okay. So we got it built, and he started her up first day. He only run her a little while, had to stop her. And it had a big dryer in it, and that had, we call it fins on the inside, and the big dryer was long, what's it, about 40 feet, Emerson? And that rolled over and over, and them fins on the inside like that, well, opposite when there was salt would fall off, and a big fire going through it, and the fans on the other end to keep it warm, hot to dry it. And he would let so much come in at one time and soft and didn't watch it. It would load the dryer and she couldn't turn. They'd have to stop her. And so he said to me, he said, we got to wait till tomorrow and we got to go in and walk in between all them fins, clear the other end of it, and tried to shovel it up in bags and carry it the other end and drop it out. And then he said, when we start up again, we'll run it back through again. I said, how often you got to do this? He said 2 or 3 times a week. Well, I said, don't look at me when it does that again. Don't look at me. He said, why? I said, because that's kids' work. I ain't going to be doing it. Why are you going to do it? I guess you're going to run this wheel now. I said, I got better ideas than that. I don't care if you've run it 14 years. I got better ideas than that. That's just kids' work. So he called his brother in Halifax. He was the head man of all. He said, Stewart won't go and carry that out. Why not? He said he calls it kids' work. There's a better way. So he got me on the phone and I told him. And so then he said to his brother, he said, let Stewart start her up on his own, see what he can do. So what I done, I went and I started the fans a-going and come back and started the fire a-going. And then I'd just catch a hold of the handle. And she'd start to move up. When she did, I'd let go of the handle. She'd come back. And I kept doing that till by and by she'd all but go over. He said, oh, let her go. No. I said, I ain't ready. And I waited till she was dry enough that when I did shove her in the second gear, she'd go right over and over like that. Why, within 10 minutes, I had it all out on the floor. He never run it after that. And he didn't stay very long. But I learned that from my mother, cooking stuff on the stove.
He's a good observer.
Yeah, right. I said, well, he said, how are you going to stop her? He said, you got that out. But he said, how are you going to stop her from loading again? I said, I'll watch it sharp enough. And when I see she starts to load, I'll cut the feed off. Till act as soon, then I'll snap the feed back on. But of all the years I had it, they couldn't see that. But I learned a lot of that from my mother cooking on the stove. Different things she told me she done, what the steam done, all like that. And it was like they started running herring. And the head man come, he was going to show me how to run herring too, but I'd run the fish for quite a while. And, well, he had about 2 feet, just like soup on the floor. And then he got discouraged. He said, well, you clean it up, and I got to go to Halifax. He just done that to get clear of it. So I started to run and got everything cleaned up, and then I started running her on my own because we had a reversible speed that would slow her down, speed her up. So I slowed her right down. What their problem was, they was driving the herring up this conveyor so fast that the steam was hitting it right just same as like that. And it was melting them right off, so you couldn't press them because it was all water. So I just slowed it down enough so that the herring went under and the steam went over the top. And then when they come to the press, they dried. You could pick it right up in your hand, throw it against the wall. It was that dry. So, I mean, all them things a lot of them things I learned from what my mother said and done. Somebody could come 1, 2 o'clock of the day. We'd give her 10, 15 minutes and she had a good dinner.
Yeah.
Because she went right to the basement, opened up different stuff she had. Within 10 or 15 minutes, she had a dinner on. Made all homemade bread. There was never heard tell of baker's bread, you know. My, yes. Oh, what a difference away today, you know. Today, everything's out of a can, out of a package or something, you know.
So your mother made what had to have been pretty hard work look easy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, right, yeah. Well, they carried, in my mother's day, my father would carry 2 big buckets of water in the morning, and it was good till the next morning. But today it was only flush the toilet twice. Yeah. It's such a change in it, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
What about laundry? Being the baby, you wouldn't remember lines.
She done it all this way,
time.
on the washboard,
Yeah.
up and down. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember washing with on the washboard. Yeah. She used a little more water then. She had maybe have to go through the day and water up again, but the same water washed all the clothes. What she had, you know, it was all done on the washboard. And then she wrung them by hand, and then hung them out. Oh yeah, right.
And she was how old when she had you? 40?
She's 48. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. Just nick and frizzle, that's all.
Yeah.
I've said a good many times, I wish they'd have waited another year and then she wouldn't have had me.
And then we wouldn't have had you.
But I guess life don't work that way. No, right? Yeah.
maybe as the baby it sort of became your destiny to be the one that would stick around the farm?
Well, no. I think what it was, that's why I didn't like school, because I loved animals so well, and had it in my head that I'd like to dicker a lot. And my mind wasn't on that school.
Yeah.
It was just, I can't wait till it comes time to get out of here and get home and work with them.
Yeah.
I think that was the problem, where the rest never was interested. They never was interested in anything my father done. They was, a lot of times, went away, went to work.
Yeah.
And their line wasn't nowhere near never was, none of them, nowhere near like my line. They had no idea how to fix cattle's horns or anything like that and do all that kind of work, One time my brother come home and he thought he'd like to buy a pair of steers. So he went and he bought a pair. Well, they wasn't very much. So I was in the barn one day and I looked them all over and I opened their mouth. I said, I got to have some fun with him. So I went to the house and I said, Arthur, I said, Ma, you took the awful trimming on them steers. He said, what? Why? He said, they ain't got no upper teeth. What are you talking about? I said, they eat hay all right. I said, I know it, but they got no upper teeth. And he believed, he doubted me. So he said, let's go see. Oh, that tickled me. So we went right down to the barn and I opened her mouth. Now I said, that one ain't got no upper teeth. No, he says it hasn't. So went and done the same to the other one. Now I said, I told you that you got stuck in them. They got no upper teeth. He didn't know the difference. But I knew that. See? Yeah. Because I took an interest in all that stuff, But you see, he didn't know nothing about that. He thought that they had a full set of teeth. Yeah.
So how do you fix their horns?
Oh, I used a rope and blocks, little blocks, and I shifted it any way I wanted them to go. First going off, when I first started, of course at them times, all of her cattle was instinctuals, which was quite easy to rig the pulleys. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I got up a little bigger, that I could go buy, even when my father was running everything, buy tie chains. I thought that was a torture. So I bought tie chains. And then I wondered how it was going to work. So first going off, I stapled a block right in over their head. Mm-hmm. Well, then I found that didn't work. Because when they turned their head, the block didn't turn. So then I suggested that put a small rope in the block and then staple the rope to the stanchial piece. And then when they turned their head, the block and everything turned. Yeah. And if they was too narrow, I made a wide stick and put 3 holes in it, put little strings on each end to tie on their horns and had the big line in the middle. Yeah. And if I wanted one to come up more than the other, I just put a hole over further. And I used to do all things like that. The last pair I had, why, they didn't have very good horns, but they was a pretty little pair of steers. So one of them had a nice set of horns right up like this, but they was like a cow, narrow, and I wanted them to flare. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people said, you never fix his horns. Oh, I said, there's a way. So I went and bought a turnbuckle that used to be on buck saws. Yeah. And I measured his horn from end to end and went to the machine shop and got him to make me a rod threaded that would thread in there so it was right together and make me a round hole on the other end of them that I could drop it right down over his horns. Yeah. And then I could put a set of knobs, brass knobs on the end that would hold it on there. And every day, if I could get it out the full width before it fell apart, I had 3 inches to spread. So every day, I just give him about a half a turn, so it wouldn't hurt him so much, And when I got out to 3 inches, they was commenced to look good. So I had no more. So I went right back and got another rod made, a little longer, and slipped that back. And by the time spring come, when I was ready to use them, had the handsomest set of horns you ever seen. They were spread off like this and all. Everybody said, how did you ever get them off like that? Oh, I said, there's no problem. And then the other one, they wasn't in line at all. So I rigged up 2 sets of weights and put one way and one the other way. When I got ready in the spring to use them, they was right in line. Every horn was right in line. Oh, they had a cute set of horns. I done that for many years. Oh, I've had people that clear from Bridgewater want me to take theirs for the winter and fix their horns all up. And another man from Yarmouth wanted me to take 2 from Yarmouth. And I said, no. I ain't going to waste my time working on yours. I'll work on my own. I told them how to do it. I said, I'll come hook them up for you. But they'll leave them there and leave them there and leave them there. Sometimes they're pulling more opposite to what you want them to. So I used to shift mine maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Put them in a little different direction. I'd watch the animal, how he fed and how he stood most of the time. And then I would correspond my weights in the direction according to the way he was keeping his head. And they always come out good.
Does your oxen have names?
Pardon?
Does your oxen have names?
Manes?
Names. How did you name them?
Oh, different. It was sometimes Sparking Lion, sometimes
Right?
Bright and Brown, all such names as that, you know. Right. Yeah.
But you'd have lots of duplicates. You'd have gone through those names many times in your
Oh, yeah.
career?
Oh, yeah. Change them back and forth, you know.
Yeah.
Right. And in the barn, you can teach them a lot in the barn. If you want them to step over one way or step over the other way. I've had them before now. I always had a chair sitting behind them. And after I got them taught good, I could sit right there in the chair and tell them which way I wanted them to go. And they'd do it right off.
Did you use their names?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Get them so that they know their name, same as a dog or anything else, you know. If you call them something else, they don't pay no attention, you know. They got brains enough to learn. I used to take a pair of steers when I was living back on the farm. My farmer was living. We had a lot of low land, and when it got later, it would get quite soft. So I used to have a pair of steers broke pretty well that I could sit right on the mowing machine seat, never get off. Come out to the corner, tell them to back G around. Of course, it was all back G when you're mowing because there are cutter bars on that side. And the oxen would step back, and the 9-1 would come around. They'd come right in that just as square as it could be. But you train them to do that. And it's the same way of plowing or anything. You can get one ox to follow the furrow going out, and then you turn your mow board over, and the other ox will follow it coming back, you know. It's just something that you learn them to do, you know, right? And they're quite easy to learn. It all depends on how you use them, you know. I've brought them home that was spoiled. If you put them on the stone drag, why, they wouldn't haul nothing. They'd be over the chain and everything else. But after I had them a month or two, they was just as true as could be, you know, right?
And it's their nature to want to do that kind of
Oh,
thing.
I think I've always had in my head, I think animals love to do what you want them to do. And it's when it comes to hauling a big load, I think they love to haul themselves. But you've got to teach them right. If you don't, well, you've spoiled them, and then just like anything else is spoiled, you can't turn around and get it to do something. Look how they teach dogs and everything to do all kind of tricks. But then other people, again, would take that same dog and within a week spoil it so the dog wouldn't do nothing. But I always thought that there's only certain people can teach certain things. Just same as a school teacher. There's a lot of school teachers, but there's a lot of poor ones. Mm-hmm. But there's some awful good ones. Yeah, right.
So is training oxen a dying art, or are you happy to see, is training oxen something that you think will die away, or are you happy to see that it's alive and well in some places?
Well, I don't know just how to answer that for you.
Well, do you think there'll continue to be an interest in it?
Do
you think there will continue to be an interest in it?
No,
No?
no. The interest is getting pretty well gone all in Oxen,
Yeah.
everywhere. No, if you had a pair right here now, probably you'd never sell them. You just one chance out of 100. So,
Yeah.
but back a few years ago, they were summoned to my place every day, maybe 2 or 3. And the most of them never went away without something. I don't like to see a buyer go away, because he might not be back.
Yeah.
But if you can satisfy him and come out of it yourself, he will be back, or he'll bring somebody else, you know. Yeah. And how I got a lot of them mated good, if I had one pair that wasn't mated good, I knew where pretty well all the cattle was for 100 miles away. And when I knew where there was another pair, that there was one good one in the lot, I would buy the pair and bring them home and put the 2 good ones together and kill the other 2.
Yeah.
And that's how I got them mated a lot better than anybody else.
What makes a good pair? Do they have to look almost identical?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
they have to
That's
be
the way I
identical?
like to have them. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I've had, the last biggest pair I had 4 mates alongside of one of them. I'd buy a mate and put alongside of him and go around some of the ox halls and exhibitions, and there'd be one pair there that one looked just like mine. I'd buy that pair
Yeah.
and put them together. And that's how I done it. And I kept doing it till I got them right down good,
Yeah.
because there's another one somewhere that looks like it, you know.
Is it a certain breed of cattle, or did you
Oh,
work
yeah.
with all different kinds?
No, pretty well. Pretty well all white-faced cattle or brockle-faced cattle out of Durham and Hereford. Pretty well makes the best.
Yeah.
They're thicker built, neater built, not so big a bone, and they have longer horns and more spiteful to haul, seem to have more power and everything like that.
What's brockle face? What's that look?
Well, it's like Durham and Hereford is bred together. And generally the Durham blood is stronger than the white-faced blood. And they come with just speckles all over their face. That's what we call brockle faces.
Yeah.
And if they breed the other way, they got a pure white face, all white brisket, and a long white strip on their shoulder, and a half a white tail. But they don't seem to, some does, but they don't seem to have as much power as they do the other way, because they've bred more on the Durham side, which the Durham is quite contrary, and he's more stronger. And that gives them, when you get them broke, they're more spiteful,
Yeah.
you know. But the other breeds, why, some has them, but I never liked them because I wasn't thick enough. You know, they're not good built enough, and I like them to have a good shape and a good style, and just like a man likes to have a good-looking woman.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing. When you go in on the grounds with probably 75 or 80 or 100 pair, and you can take the top, why, you got it pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I never broke a pair in my life in the spring that I took to an exhibition, but I wasn't tall. And never in my life. There was one man back about 8-10 years ago, I broke a pair. And he broke a pair. And we went to Caledonia. And he said, there's a nice trophy up. One man came to me and said, I've got a good trophy up. He says, suppose you can get it? I'd like for you to have it. Well, I said, I don't see why I can't. I said, there got to be something here awful good. Awful good. So there's another fellow had always been trying to be the top. And he said to me, there's a nice trophy up today. I said, yeah. He said, I'm going to have that trophy.
Is the trophy a trophy, or is it prize money?
No, they give a trophy.
Yep. No money?
No.
No other rewards for all that time?
No, we all worked on trophies.
Yeah.
And so we went in and took our turn. Oh, I had no trouble at all. I got the trophy. He said, you won't get it next year. He said, I'm going to hold them over. I said, I'll hold mine over. So I held mine over. We went right back same place.
Eager to meet again.
I got a same man put another trophy up. same man. I got the trophy both years. And they, after I sold them, they went through 1, 2, 3, 4 hands right quick. They come right back to the man that gave me the 2 trophies.
Yeah.
And he kept them till just, I think it was a year ago. He
Yeah.
got cleared and they got sold. He had them all that time. Oh yeah, he won a lot of trophies with them. But I said that his wife spoke to me one day about it. Why have they been so good? I said they was taught right from the start. And I said, you fellers didn't overdo it. And that's why you got them today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old would they live to be?
Oh, they keep them around, if they're good, around 15, 16, 18 years.
Yeah.
They lose their teeth, you see.
Yeah.
Then they can't eat good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that's pretty well the life from some goes 20, but I mean, they failed a lot. They've got older, and it's like a young person and an old person, you lose your strength. And they lose their strength, so then they slip them to the slaughterhouse, you know. Yeah.
Were either you or your father in the business of butchering and
Oh, yeah.
peddling? Any peddling?
Yeah, he only butchered his, like in the fall, we won one beef or kill a pig. He'd done that. Other than that, he never done it.
No.
But I butchered a lot. Oh, yeah.
You have to in order to.
Oh, yeah. I used to, up until here about, 10 years ago anyway, I used to kill about 20 or 25 head every fall for deep freezes.
Yep.
Yeah.
People just came to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I made a practice that not to sell it out by the quarter,
Yes? Why?
because a lot of people just wants the hind quarter.
Right.
And then you're stuck with forward quarters,
Yeah.
and nobody don't want them.
Yeah.
So I said, no, I ain't going to do it. You're either going to buy a half, or you ain't going to get none. And I never had a bit of trouble. Once I'd done that, I had no trouble at all. No, I used to butcher a lot.
That would be me. I would be looking for the hind quarters.
Yeah, right. Oh,
As
yes.
they get smaller,
Yeah,
you don't need so much.
that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I butchered a lot. Yeah. If I bought any big oxen that that I bought and cross-mated, if I had that pair on my hands, I sent them to slaughterhouse in Kingston because they were too big for me to handle.
Yeah.
But any stuff like steers, and I bought 2 pair and cross-made them, took out the best 2. I killed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, send them out for deep freeze, you know. I never was stuck.
You never use dogs when you're training oxen. That's not a part of it. Like sheep raising or anything. You never
No.
use. That's not part of it.
No. No, a lot of people has used everything to try to break a pair of steers, and they've spoiled more than they've broke. I had a man down in Yarmouth to make me a nice leather-covered whip, and made the lash and all. It was a lovely hanging whip, and put a snapper on the end of it and all. And when I sold all my gear off to a man in Yarmouth, I said to him, the whip was in the lot. I said, I've broke 3 pair of steers with that whip and never had a snapper put on it. He said, I can't believe that. He said, I have to have a snapper put on my whip every week. I said, yeah, you don't use it. You don't want to use it. I said, that's why you got so many spoiled cattle. I said,
What's the snapper do?
well, there's like a very thin leather, like from the end of it down,
Yeah.
and then all you got blunt. It don't hang good, but you take a piece of ganjin and put on the end of it about that long, and it seems to make a better handling whip and everything. But they beat them right off, and that's why they got so many spoiled cattle. They overload them, and just because they've took that load right now, they'll wait a few minutes and try them right over again, and they can't move it. And if they don't move it, they start using the whip on them.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like a dog. If you beat a dog, he's going to run somewhere. So I never done it that way.
Is the idea mostly to make a snapping noise, or
Yeah,
to
right,
make
right.
contact with
Yeah, right, yeah. But the way I trained all of mine, I had 2 drags. One loaded light, the other one real heavy.
Yeah.
And I got to be using the light one, real good, so they never knew it was on.
Yeah.
And
It's okay.
I would shift them. and put them on the big one. And of course, they didn't know they was on the big one. They'd settle right down and make a big start. And I'd let them go about that far. And I'd stop and take them right off. Put them back on the little one. And I'd keep doing that. I only done it about twice or 3 times. And I'd go put them in the barn. Anytime I took them out, I could hook them on it and they'd start it. But you see, the most of the people will put them on it. And if they can't move it, or if they move it once, they'll think, well, they should drag it quite a ways further now. They've started it once. They don't do it. They don't work that way.
Not the way it works.
Yeah. I had one pair that, they was good. And, but they was all awful wild and everything. But I never had no trouble with them. So there's a man from Yarmouth come up. And he wanted me to yoke them up. So I yoked them up and put them on the drag. And I hooked them right on my big load. Drug it clear up in front of the barn. And so they were standing there, and he said, I'd like to try them. Here's the whip. You know, they couldn't get them to even move it. Maybe they wouldn't even try. I said, I don't believe they're going to be any good to you. He said, they won't even take a hold for me. I said, no. He said, you try them. He had me do it. I don't want the whip. You keep the whip. I just stepped in front of them, spoke to them. They settled right down and took it right off. I said, I can't understand that. Why they won't hold for me? I said, your voice is different. They're used to mine. And they know what I tell them. And I said, you don't. Yeah. He bought them after a while, and I took them down to him. He paid me for them. We put them in the barn. In less than 2 hours, he sold them back to me. I had to pay $100 more, but that was nothing.
You didn't dicker again.
No, but within 20 minutes, I made $200 more.
Yeah.
Just that quick.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what I liked, you know. Yeah. But the most I ever made, I bought one pair for $1,100. I brought them home, put them right in the slings, put a set of shoes on them. And the next day, I fitted the yoke to them, see how they were going to work. And 3 weeks from that, we was down to a supper in Caledonia, Ox Association, you know.
Yes.
Margaret and I were sitting on this side of the table, and this man and his wife was sitting on the other side of the table. He said, where can I buy a good pair of steers broke? I said, right down at my place. He said, how much money? I said, $2,300. I paid 11.
Double and then some.
Yeah. He said, I'll be to your place tomorrow morning. I said, good enough. So he come and he looked them all over and got me to yoke them up and everything. He liked them fine. He said, I'll give you $2,200. You take them up and put them in the barn. I said, no way. No, $2,300. After a while, he said, I guess I can't do no better. No, I said, you can. He said, you'll take them out. You'll deliver them. I said, oh, yeah. So he come me out the money and I delivered them. That was the most money I ever made quick in my life.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I like dickery. Before I come home, I bought something else and brought it right back. You see. Oh, yeah. That was way better in school to me. Right.
Did Margaret ever get aggravated with you that before you brought the money home, you found something else to buy?
Oh, no.
That was
Oh,
not
no.
anything you ever
Oh,
did.
no. She thought that was great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because a lot of times she went with me
Yeah.
when I done that, you know. Yeah.
So. Nope. Yeah. Can you tell us, Stuart, a little bit about how you met Margaret in your early married life? And
Yeah.
How that was different than your
Yeah.
life?
I went with a girl in Rossway 2 years,
Yes.
and I used to walk to go up there. And I done some work. Her mother had a big farm,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to work for him some up there. Go up and stay maybe 3 or 4 days. I think sometimes I have stayed a week, and then I had to come back home and help my father. So we was going to get married. I went with her 2 years, right straight. So everything was planned, but just setting the date.
Yes.
That was getting close. And this certain night, we was talking, and I said, told her where we was going to move and all. She says, I can't leave my mother. I said, yeah. I said, what are we going to do? Me live down Digby Neck, you live up here. What kind of married life would that be? I said, I got an idea what married life is like, and I think I would enjoy it wonderful if it goes the way I'd like for it to go. Well, she said, I can't see why it won't go good. Well, I said, it won't go good with you living up here and me living somewhere else. That's for sure. So there wasn't much more said. So the next morning, we had breakfast, and when I got ready to leave, I was coming home that day to help my father. And she said, what we were talking about last night? I said, yeah. She said, when you come back again, I'll have a good answer for you. She said, I'll talk it over with my mother, because there was different things about the place that I wasn't going to move on somebody else's place. Mm-hmm. And I wanted it to be fair. Mm-hmm. And she had a brother-in-law that had married her sister, and they figured on he was going to have the place. Fine dandy. I didn't need their place. But I wasn't going to run their place for about 10 years and then be outdoor with maybe 1 to 5 kids maybe. So that's when she was going to talk it over with her mother. Yeah. But the minute I stepped my foot out on the platform, something says no. Yeah. Don't bite. You won't be contented. And I come home, and I never went back. Never went back to say yes or no. No. So then I had my own trial. So I come home and stayed home with my father and mother and worked around every day just the same, and then nights I'd go around. And I picked up a few girls, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, and they didn't suit me. So then Margaret only lived a mile from me. So I don't know, I picked her up one night. And we seemed to hit pretty good, and I kept picking her up till I went with her 2 years. And then we got married.
What was her maiden name?
Terrio.
Terrio.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got married?
I was 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 28. She was 21.
Yeah.
But she made a lovely woman. You couldn't make a woman any better than she was.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of people said, how come you tortured yourself and stayed in the house all that time to look after her? I said, I didn't torture myself. I said, I thought enough for her that I didn't want her to go somewhere else and not be able to talk and paralyzed. Yeah. What kind of a feeling is that? Yeah. You know. But
I think we're at the end of our tape here.
Just a minute, Stuart, we have to